Gentleman yields back. We'll now go to the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Donald, for
Thank you,
5 minutes.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Chairman Gensler. Last but not least, why don't we just get to it? The commission has been extremely active on the rulemaking front during your tenure at the agency's helm. Dozens of rules proposed and issued, many overlapping in scope and topic. Many of the new rule proposals also relate to security-based swap markets and may duplicate the requirements only recently implemented. Have you considered the impacts of proposing new and additional regulatory burdens on this market when the full effects of Title VII rules are still unknown? And secondarily, just as important, have you done a fulsome analysis on the impact of the rules market specifically as they relate to market liquidity?
With regard to the securities-based swap market, I think it's 3 different rule proposals, and each of them we have done full economic analyses, which is put out to the public comment, and that's related to the swap execution facilities in the swaps markets, relates to large trader reporting as a separate rule proposal, and thirdly, we made a proposal around anti-manipulation in the markets. A number of these are actually required by Congress, the swap execution facilities for sure.
Well, while we're on the position of rules, let me answer this question. It's actually a follow-up from my colleague, Mr. Norman. Your climate disclosure rule, 500 pages, you say that that's the way we can have uniformity in disclosure, but what provision are you using to create authority for a large climate disclosure when Congress never gave you one?
Congress did give us authority around disclosures in both of our first acts, 1933 Act and 1934 Act.
Chairman Gensler, can you honestly sit there and tell me that in 1933 and 1934, Congress actually anticipated climate disclosure rules?
They didn't anticipate many things. It was 90 years ago, but what they did anticipate is that companies needed to be truthful in their disclosures and
truthful in their disclosures around their financial practices, around assets, liabilities, earnings per share, return on equity, and I can go on and on and on. But potential climate risks, Congress never anticipated that. Never.
No, it's broader than that, sir, because it's also companies today are already making significant disclosures about climate risk.
But if they do that of their own volition, that doesn't give you the authority to make everybody do it. Just because some are doing it doesn't mean you have to make sure everybody does it.
We, with all respect,
Chairman Glenser, do you disclose how many blue shirts you own? Should we be able to pass a law that makes everybody disclose how many blue shirts they own?
Companies that are in the business of raising money from the public are supposed to
Chairman
make
Gensler, every publicly
disclosures.
traded company raises money. Every one of them does it. That's why they're in the public markets.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that you get to arbitrarily create some rule out of thin air that we never granted you to then make them regulate on climate emissions. We never did that.
They're already making disclosures, and it's bringing.
Yeah, but you don't have the authority to make it uniform because we never gave you the authority. You are making a determination and a definition without congressional authority. Yes or no?
We do have authority, sir.
You're making a determination and a definition without congressional authority.
The authority.
Yes or no?
It's the same authorities that
Yes
we
or no?
used to, with all respect, sir, it's the same authorities that we used when we said you had to disclose material risk, but you have to disclose management discussion and analysis.
But material risk and management discussion goes to the actual operations of the business itself. What you're talking about is something dealing with the outside aspects associated with the business. I'm going to reclaim my time and move on to something else. You said earlier in another line of questioning that the players in the digital asset space don't have a choice, that they have to comply with the rules. But once again, Congress has never given you a framework for regulating digital assets. Where are you pulling that one from?
With all respect, sir, we disagree on this.
Oh, I can see we disagree a lot, Chairman, because we're not giving you authority. You're just taking it. I think that's part of the issue right now.
With all respect, Congress painted with a broad brush when they set up the SEC, and I quote Thurgood Marshall, which is one of the greatest.
Congress painted with a broad brush in 1933 and 1934, not in 2023. We've not touched that. It's a new industry. One last quick question, because I'm concerned about your agency. You have some of the highest turnover amongst the agencies. Do you think you have the manpower to actually regulate digital assets, considering all the other rulemaking you're engaged
We
in?
actually have 6 to 7% turnover, which is consistent with the other federal financial
I would disagree.
regulators.
OPM would say otherwise, Chairman Gensler. Hey, real quick, last question. I think it might have came up. You were Hillary Clinton's CFO in the campaign, right?
It's part of my history.
Were you? Yes or no?
In 2016,
Did you facilitate the payment for the Steele dossier since you were CFO of the Hillary Clinton campaign?
sir,
Yes or no?
sir,
Yes or no?
that was not.
You're under oath, Chairman Gensler. Yes or
I
no?
know. I was not something I was aware of.
I yield back the rest of my time. Thank you, Chairman.
Gentleman's time has expired.